Hey, what's cooking, everyone? Tomahawk and I hope you're having an awesome day. This right here is part 2 of our 3rd episode on survival games here on New Wave Gaming. If you haven't heard part 1, go check it out. We hope you enjoy and stuff. Here's part 2. Chicka-chicka. Back, ChukTomahawk. Sorry, man. I needed to grab an Orange Crush.
Welcome back. Yeah.
Got myself an Orange Crusher. I haven't had one in years.
I haven't either. I don't see them in the store out here super often. I bet that's probably got the real cane sugar down there.
Oh, yeah, man. It's got that 100% Colombian uncut cane sugar, baby. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Dang, that looks
That's why
nice.
it's called Orange Crush.
Boom. You ever drink Faygo? I got into Faygo there for a while. I think this is the last orange drink I had.
Faygo?
How's that? You don't listen to Insane Clown Posse?
Oh, God. I thought you said NSYNC for a second. Like, of course I do.
You're like, what? It's my favorite band.
I've heard of them, but
Not
I'm
a huge.
No, I don't know. I haven't heard their jams, but I know about them.
They sing about it in their songs, and I had to go to sample it. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Frago.
Faygo.
Oh, Fago. Sounds like an Italian drink. Gosh. Okay, so
Oh my god.
Tomahawk, I feel like, man, this is all you right here. You want to take this one? Because when listeners hear that I haven't played this game, they're gonna want to jump through the technology and slap me in the face.
They're gonna be pissed. They're gonna be double pissed because I haven't either.
What?
No.
Oh, I was gonna give you the lead on this one because I thought you'd rock this baby before.
So here's the thing, like, this is how, like, I feel like you're probably starting from nothing and are better off than me because I feel like I was introduced to a game called Minecraft that was kind of almost like, say, it worked like kind of like the Battlefield, like not the video game that we know of, but Battleship. Like, remember the game Battleship? Did you and Pepe ever play that as kids?
We played the board game one.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Like
Got my ass kicked.
that's what Minecraft kind of worked like to me. It was like you had this screen and you would click on these squares and it would either be a bomb or not, and you kind of worked through there like that.
Oh,
and I feel
yeah,
like
I know what you're talking about.
that's what I thought of. My buddy T-Bone would say his son was playing Minecraft, and hell, that's what I thought he was doing. But you know,
Oh, man, he was getting into Minecraft, dude.
come to find out,
You're talking
he
about
was
that
like
old
crafty.
Windows game. Let me see here. Because it'd come up, you'd back in the day, older listeners will remember this, and I don't think you can do it anymore, but back in the day, we're talking, well, there's a large time, but for me, it was in the 90s. You'd open up like Windows, what was it, Windows 3.0, even before Windows 97.
Yeah.
And then Windows 97, Windows 98, they just kept coming out. But you'd have like at the bottom left, you'd have the start button, and it'd pull up a menu, and then eventually you'd find a file called games, and you'd open that file up, and there'd only be about 3 or 4 games in there, very basic games.
Solitaire would be
Solitaire.
one of them.
I think there'd be this old version of a pinball, 3D pinball, which was real fun. God, that game was fun. And then I think it was called Minesweeper, Tomahawk. Was it Minesweeper?
That makes way more sense. That makes way more sense because I'm remembering those as bombs, but yeah, it's almost like you clicked on that and it was either a mine or it was like what you wanted, like the direction you could move in that direction and access some.
It'd have numbers, man. It'd be a bunch of freaking numbers, and I knew there was a way to play that game, but I never actually read the manual, so I don't know if you played that game the same way I did.
And I probably did it drive by a little bit. Probably was at work somewhere or school or something, and was supposed to be doing something else, and was either playing solitaire or that or something like that. And so when I heard of Minecraft, that's what I thought. And I thought, how are people playing that for hours? Like, I can play that for
Yeah, because
an
it has
hour.
numbers and stuff, and unless you're really into like like math games. What was that other one? Like Sudoku or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, what I would do back then in the early 90s is I'd be like, okay, I'm here to play pinball, but I'm going to open up this Minesweeper real quick, see how far I can get. But what I'd really end up doing was just freaking spamming the click button on the mouse. I'd just be like, click, 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 until it'd blow up.
Open them all.
Until I couldn't get any further. It's like, I didn't do that
that.
good. And then I'd open up pinball.
Exactly. So really that was my experience with that. And a few years ago I would be playing FIFA and like we'd be in a party chat with some folks I'd met on there, like in the FIFA game, and they would say, hey, we're getting off to play Minecraft. And I remember it almost being like say, like some of these folks that were playing were kind of like, say, 18, 19-year-olds or something. And it almost like seemed like they were shaming each other that it was a kid's game, like a little bit. And
I get that, man. I'm not going to lie. Like now I think I could easily jump into some Minecraft and enjoy the heck out of it. Now that I've researched it a bit, I know what the premise is. I know how it started and where it's at now just by doing some research online, looking at videos. But not going to lie, like whenever I'd hear Minecraft before, I'd be like, I'm not really into cartoony games. The same excuses that excuses that I'd give you when you'd be like, hey man, let's do a little Fortnite.
Yeah.
I'd be like, God, it's a little too cartoony for me. But now that I know more about Fortnite, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna be downloading Fortnite anytime soon, but got a lot more respect for it. That's how I feel about Minecraft.
Yeah, and I see, TikTok videos or other things on social media of folks in their 70s playing Minecraft, like, and doing some insane thing,
Getting after it.
Yeah, like they'll be literally like tunneling through the world, like something that's going to take like an eternity to do, but they just kind of have the patience for it and they're just chilling doing it, and yeah, so I don't know a ton of this, and I feel like we should give it credit where credit's due. I mean, I think it did kind of like at least lay the dollar signs out there. Like I feel like one of its best contributions was that it became as popular as it did, and now you have those kids that played this game in 2009 are adults.
Yep.
And they're out here. They're the ones that are playing Rust and
I think
these other popular games of today.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like Minecraft is the game that that put up the flag that says survival games are here to stay.
Yeah,
they're here
it's
to
not a
stay.
trend.
And gosh, I don't know, to be honest, what the very first online multiplayer scenario game was. But I have a feeling it might have, it couldn't have been Minecraft, but I feel like Minecraft was the first one where there was also that aspect really blowing up, the online factor where there's other players in a singular environment, open worldish. I think that's the case, but this is definitely the first game I think that, in my opinion, was like, okay, survival games are here to stay, baby, and they blew up with a huge player base.
Like one of the responses I've heard as Minecraft was reviewed as it first came out is that as far as survival games go, I think the survival part ends fairly quickly in this game. Like maybe the first few nights, like you've dug into a cave and there's like zombies and things out there that can take you out, but pretty quickly you can easily establish food, water, shelter, those kind of things, and then the game becomes about expression, like about your personal, like the route you want to go. Like you want to build the biggest castle, or you want to build a bridge that spans this gap that other players see, or all of a sudden like your personality starts coming out, and I think that's going to lead us to the conversation about the psychology of these different games and how that developed. So we all have that picture.
So what you mean is it's kind of like perhaps one of the first games where you could promote yourself in a way within a game to other players that are in that same environment or server.
Yeah, it's like they're taking what Stranded laid out there for us in 2003, and now you're really building a base, and you can't help but I mean, I think at this point, like if someone showed me 3 bases in Ark and asked me which one you built, I could tell them which one it was. You know, just because I've seen you do it enough times, and I know how you go about it. You know. And
yeah, that's fascinating. I hadn't thought about that until just now. Like, I was kind of looking at the things, going, God, what are we going to say about Minecraft? You know, I haven't played the game, and it's so big. It's such an important milestone in the survival game history. And I think that's a fair assessment, is that this was one of the first, if not the first game where you could have that creativity expression level thrown in with surviving. Because from what I read, basically the game kind of revolves around a day cycle and a night cycle, where in the night cycle there's all these monsters and zombies and stuff that come out. So your whole day cycle revolves around being ready for the night, be it creating a base, gathering resources, food, etc. But yeah, I suppose there's a point there where you get pretty efficient at that, pretty good at that. I'm sorry, got some burps here, burp stuck. And then at that point, you can be a little bit more creative. You know, your base is secure, so now you can kind of pimp it out, make it look real nice. And other folks can see that in the game, other players and stuff like that, which before was not a thing.
Yeah, and I think it has to be, the threat of it has to be there. I mean, it's just like in Ark, like, you know, every now and then you get caught with your pants down somewhere, even though you're highly technologically advanced. Like, you know, you kind of, you know, maybe didn't take the supplies with you that needed, and I'm sure that still happens in Minecraft as well. You know, it's always that survival element's always out there, but it's pretty easy to, you know, kind of build a new comfort zone of sorts there at your little base, and you know, you've got some food in the fridge, and you've plumbed it in, you've got some water source going, and, you know, those basic needs are easily met. And then, you know, there has to be this outlet for expression, or the game's kind of over at that point, unless you doubled the zombies and made the survival part, you know, kind of the gig, you know, like what's really, because there are games out there that I read about even in our research for this, that they're just known for being super freaking hard. Like you know, and the survival is the real thing. Like, there's no bosses, there's no, you know, big baddie that you go take on. It's just literally surviving.
Yep.
You know, I think that when developers are making these things, they've got to find that sweet spot, because I have to say that was kind of my experience in Ark. Like, you know, I think you kind of introduced me to the ideal of it, and then, you know, before I jumped on there with you guys, I tried it a couple times, and I was like, you know, I didn't know how to bring up the map. I just didn't know anything, you know, and I was just like getting my ass handed to me over and over, and I was like, this is so much fun. Like,
I'm not doing this again. Adios, perros.
yeah, you know, but I just, you know, I knew you well enough to know that there's something there. Like, if so let me, you know, keep digging and
I remember you're like, come on, guys, can you check out this Valheim? I'm like, nah, bro. We'll let them finish that, because it was still in development too. I don't know if they finished by now, but I'm not gonna lie to you, Tomahawk. I can see myself getting into Valheim, because I've seen like recent videos and stuff, and it looks a lot different from when it first came out. You know,
I think, yeah, when it gets to its final stages, I hope we play it someday. One of my favorite parts is just how freaking huge those bosses are. I think this is one of the things that obviously Elden Ring has gotten right recently. Like, I've watched a ton of videos of folks playing that game, and it looks cool as shit when, you know, your tiny person is like, I think that game God of War is like that on PlayStation a lot too. Like, you're just this tiny guy fighting this giant thing, and that's how, when you're going up against those bosses and whatnot in that game, and they are so huge, it really, you know, puts a little bit of fear in you, like kind of that same PvP kind of fear almost. Like, is probably one of my favorite parts of the game. But
yeah, man. So if we had to, you know, final thoughts on Minecraft, mine would be landmark game for survival genre. Possibly the very, very first game where you could express your creativeness within a persistent environment with other people there that can see it. What else? You got anything to throw onto that? I'm gonna play it soon. That's all I can say, listeners. I'm sorry. I know you're just completely bummed out with Ovox because he's never played Minecraft before, which is I know, and I haven't played Fortnite. I'm gonna play these games, I promise. But that's the best I can give as my final thoughts. Is mad props to Minecraft. Respect.
Yeah, same here. I think just that the fact that it brought the dollars and the attention of kind of as if we looked at these topics of our episodes here, like we realize that there's CEOs and things like that are involved in some of these decisions, how things go, and once they saw that there was a way to make some money here that gets games funded. I mean, you can have all the good ideals you want, but if the dollars aren't there to develop it and market it, it just really could die on the vine. So yeah, thanks Minecraft.
Yep. Oh, you know what? And real quick, little correction. Minecraft, it looks like came out in 2011, but it began development in 2009, I think. So
Yeah.
Forgive that mistake there. But after Minecraft, another milestone was Miasmata. I don't know how to pronounce it. Came out in 2012. Do you see that one?
Miasmata, yeah. I'm not super duper familiar with it, but as we kind of looked at the games that kind of made lasting contributions, I think procedural generation, kind of shows up here as what it brought to the table, and
Yep.
yeah, it has some similarities to Ark too, as I understand it.
A lot of things, man. I actually, when I was reading about Miasmata, in Spanish it would be Miasmata, but it depends on, I don't want to get into that. It's going to turn into a Spanish lesson.
Yeah.
But yeah, procedural generation was kind of a thing here. They brought in cartography, botany, and I think one of the things we were that has a huge similarity with Ark particularly was I noticed here that the story of Miasmata was told through these notes left by earlier scientific expedition in the game. And that's a huge, yeah, that's something that's it's also an element of the storyline in Ark.
Do you think that's like a direct inspiration? Like they
Gosh.
really just, it about has to be, doesn't it?
Perhaps, man. I mean, because definitely an inspiration, maybe. I mean, I'd like to assume that it is, because in Ark, you basically spawn in onto this island as your character, and you're naked. You don't have nothing. I mean, you're not completely naked. You got a little loincloth thing going on there. But one of the ways the only way really to become familiar with what's going on and why you're there and the storyline behind the game is to find these explorer notes throughout the map. And they have these dossiers, I think they're called, where it basically like talks about the dinosaurs in the game and the storyline of the game. So definitely.
Yeah. And I knew nothing about that part till, just recently after, playing for a pretty good while.
And so, gosh, post 2012 with Miasmata, what are we looking at? I mean, that pretty much brings us.
Yeah, you're about to, I think you had a game called Arma that there was a mod for where DayZ kind of, people give a little bit of credit, I think, to laying the groundwork for Rust and some of these other games. I don't know this history, just super well, and I know it's not our ultimate focus here, but yeah, I think you started seeing kind of what we've got today.
Yep. After that, what we can get into talking about is the different types of player experiences in these games. We've been kind of touching on a little bit, but what I've got here is the player experience in survival games can kind of be three ways, it's basically you got three things. You got a linear world, an open world, and an open persistent world. And then there's also battle royales. But I don't know how I feel about battle royale kind of fitting in the survival genre. You know what I mean?
It's tough because, things like Fortnite, like you do have building, you don't necessarily have a base, but you do have like some gathering of resources, and you're going to do some crafting with those things, like not to the level of other games, but you are constructing things. So I see why folks include this, but I definitely think more of an open world. And I think one of the things that keeps us coming back to ARC, like we talked about, like that investment and that buy-in and that simulation of the real sense of loss, like it's got to be persistent. I remember when you first introduced me to this game, that's one of the things you said, like that, hey, I've got some things going on with some guys I'm playing with, and it's going on right now. Like I think we were sitting by a pool or something, you're kind of like, it's my character's still
I
there.
remember that.
Like, and it was kind of like, oh no shit.
Yeah, we were at the pool next at the surf camp talking about games.
It took me a minute to wrap my mind around what you were getting at. I don't know that I understood it exactly until I got there. And so yeah, I think you do have these different experiences, but for me, that's kind of what I think of today is once you've got into the base building and resource gathering, like it's got to be persistent. But I think it exists in all these forms. And
Yep. And a part of that, it's kind of its own element, but it really fits well right in there to the open world. Well, open persistent world is the PvE/PvP factor. That's a huge element, I think, in these newer survival games, especially Rust and Ark and DayZ.
And that's something I never had heard of until we started playing these things, and I think now we kind of get into that place where your interactions with other human beings are really what starts driving the experience and creating the experience to some degree. And I just want to know what motivates people to do some of the things that they do. I know for me, like it's almost like I try to promote myself online similar to how I am in real life. So I have to say that, like, when we go to like raid someone's base and take their things, like I do, I'm excited about the things, but there is a little part of me, I think, that has some hesitation or feels that it's wrong. And it seems like other players like are able to just sort of say, this is a game, like why not just be that way in this game? Like it doesn't reflect on your character as a human being.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it reflects on this character that I've made in this game. But I'm having a little harder time separating those things, I think. And
yeah, man, you're a nice guy, Tom. You're not too, it's hard for some people to be so ruthless in these games. But you kind of gotta be, it's like, and there's a part of us that knows it. You gotta be, like they say, shoot first and ask questions later in this one, or in Ark particularly, if you run into another person on the game, if they're not a part of your tribe, their little gamer tag will come up red, and the expression is, if it's red, it's dead. Unfortunately, usually I'm the one that's dead at that point. I don't even realize it, or like that one time you were in the Scar trying to get dragon eggs.
Yeah,
and that guy pulled up.
Jumped by that freaking man of Garmer. I do struggle with this, and I've watched it go down. Like, say, I was playing on a server, and obviously someone got killed, and I saw like all of a sudden the word "dick" like came up in the chat, and the guy was like, "What?" and he was like, "You lost nothing," and the other guy's like responding like, "Why did you kill me? I was minding my own business," and he was like, "You might have had something good," like the other guy like put on there, and finally the guy that said that at first, he was like, just messing with you, man, and kind of put LOL or something. Like it kind of ended like fairly, like positively, like he understood why he killed him or whatever. But man, when they did that stuff to me, like it just hurt. Like, I know I told the story last time about my free Griffin getting taken away. Like, it felt like I dropped an ice cream cone or something. Like, I just don't do well in them situations. Like, I think I kind of overthink, and you could probably say I'm a nice guy. Like I look out for number one a lot of times, like everyone else at times, but it's hard for me to make that transition. And
bro, that's why I was like, hey guys, I'm going to take a breather from ARC. I remember writing you guys in the chat after that last raid. I was like, oh man, I'm going to take a week off, maybe 2 weeks. And there I am, running to the next survival game, downloading The Forest, No Man's Sky, and even Red Dead Redemption I got up there, which is kind of survivally.
Honestly, this goes back to the question I asked you earlier. Like, what was that like for you? Like being there at the base. Like I did find it interesting. Like you were ready to take a break right after that experience, because I feel like that experience was a bit of trauma for me. Like I understand like why it made you feel those ways, and like everyone supported you in that decision. Like we all know, like kind of what we're going through there, and like with the amount of time it takes of our lives and everything. So.
Gosh, yeah. Well, I was. I remember I was AFK, and I was just taking care of some stuff while the fabricator was crafting more bullets for our turrets. In ARC, you can set up defenses, and one of the main lines of defenses is having turrets. And to do that, you got to make a lot of bullets, and that takes time, work, effort, resources, etc. So we'd already done all that, and I think you were on your way to see Mom. I suspect that Mickey was also in a similar scenario, because I mean we're talking about the heart of Mother's Day here, and I was the only one that was really close there, and I was on the AFK, and all of a sudden I don't know why I went back to look, and I could see that one of the I was really low on health. My character was. I could see that the screen was like fading and pulsing, which means you're hurting, and then I noticed that one of the gigas was like very bloody. So I was like. And it's that feeling, man, that instant like click in your brain, man.
Heart starts beating.
It's so nuts. And I think this is the psychological pull that we get to these games. It's part of it, at least. And I went into assessment mode. Like, okay, here we go. We're getting attacked. And, for the listeners, we play on a server it's a private server. So it basically on the weekends, things become more vulnerable than during the week. So don't have to get too deep into the details, but long story short, our base was going to have kind of like an automatic protection in about a couple of hours. So my whole brain was assessing, can I hold these guys off for a couple of hours and then we're safe? But there were two of them. It seems like they had been scouting and had a really good strategy in order. And yeah, long story short, man, I was trying to defend, but they dropped a couple of Stegosauruses in through and whistled them aggressive, which at first didn't too much, but when I started to attack them with the Giga, they kind of made their way into the crafting area where we had all of the wiring for the turrets, and the Stegos just started tail swiping everything and breaking everything, and all the turrets went down. It's like all of them went down at once, and it was like, well, all right. At that point, it was like, I was just doing my best to chomp at them and stuff. But yeah, long story short, they made it in, got me, blew up all the beds, all the turrets were down, and I was just like, all right, I'm out.
It's like, and, I just remembered that situation myself, and like part of me when I was sitting there at Mom's, like I wanted to text you and say like, get this or that out of the refrigerator, and I knew from that, like I just didn't want to put anything else on you. I was just kind of like, yeah, because it's not a fun feeling, and you said you were taking a break, and Mickey and I got back on together. I think I made the joke that I was going to be waiting for you guys, in the ice cave.
Your words were, I remember writing you saying, I want to take a break. And Mickey was like, yeah, sounds good, brother. And you responded, all right, I'm just going to chill out in that ice cave until all you motherfuckers come to your senses.
Yeah, It's like, go play those other games. You'll be back. Like, you know, I was like, I'll have a wife.
I remember putting in there, well, I'll be on the forest if anyone else wants to come and play. Little teary.
Like, taming what? Like, exactly. The forest? Like,
hey, forest is fun, man. That game's crazy.
it is
and
fun.
It's such a small game in terms of the memory it takes in your your console or PC, whatever you're playing on. It's a very well made game, great graphics, great mechanics, considering it's only like 5 gigabytes. Where you try to download Arc and it's like 108. Jeez, God.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember. You and I played like maybe a couple of hours of Forest like there maybe a year or two ago. Like so, I have an idea what it's about, and I see some TikTok videos occasionally. Looks like it's gotten even crazier.
Re-download it, man. Let's play that. I got it on the PlayStation right now. We can jump on. It's a fun game. And I know Pepe would be down to play, and I know Mickey has it as well. We could have a little 4-man,
I'll play like one of my takeaways, like one of the thoughts I had last time we were playing. I think it's funny to say this about survival games is that, like, I think what was going on is we were harvesting some logs, and we had like this little trailer of sorts that we were loading them up on.
Yep.
We were pulling them over, and we were building a little cabin. Yep. And I remember thinking, it's like, shit, I've got a 150-acre farm in East Tennessee. We could be doing this all day long.
For real.
Like, it needs to be done. Like,
create some real value. It's like,
yeah, I've got a 044 steel chainsaw that I've had like ported exhaust and shit put on. Like, and yeah, I remember thinking that it's funny, like what I'll do, I'll be sitting here in my house and it needs cleaning or whatever, and I'm like totally like cleaning up, straightening up things in our base, like no problem to do that. But
man, I think something you mentioned is tremendously, it's a huge factor here in regard to the psychology of the game and that conversation we had at the Pool of the Surf Camp about the open, persistent world, meaning if you turn your PlayStation off, if you turn your Xbox off, if you turn the PC off, it's not like Mario or Red Dead or any game that comes to mind. It's not like help me out here, John. I'm having a total game. It's not like FIFA. It's not like any of these games. Like when you turn the system off, that world that your character is in, that advancement in the game that progression that you've achieved, it's still there. It's still going. So, for example, in Rust, in Ark, in is Valheim the same? Can you build bases in Valheim?
You sure can.
So you build these things. You invest this time. You progress. You get that satisfaction that a video game gives you at the end of the day. Except dopamine. It gets those brain fluids moving in a way that feels all yummy inside. But when you hit that button with these games, these persistent online servers, it creates something that even after you're like, you turn off Pac-Man, you turn off Mario, you turn off whatever, okay, you're good. You're not even thinking about it at that point. Eventually you'll want to play the game again, and you will. But with Ark, with Rust, you click off, and you know that your shit's still there, and that there's all these other people still playing on that server. It just happens to be the time that you have to sign out or turn off the system. Man, you turn that bad boy off, you're still thinking about it. Yeah. Like that time we were sitting at the pool having that conversation, I was thinking about, fuck, did I get that last imprint on my dragon? Shit, did I close the door? Did I even close the door? I gotta get turrets up. I gotta get
log back on to check that door. Turns out I have OCD on game and in real life.
Oh man, OCD! I didn't even think about that as a topic to bring. I mean, like that's a whole thing in these games. Like there's with base building games, there's a whole segment of a community of players that are very OCD in that, you build a base and everything is very flush and lined up, and if it's Ark and there's dinosaurs, you probably have all the dinosaurs lined up by their species, and then there's other players that are just like, fuck it. Just build it, put it anywhere you want. You know, put it over there, put it over here, line them up however you want. You know, like shit's all over the place. You open up a vault filled with loot, which is another thing, loot, that I think is a part of the game psychology here. But, you know, you open up a vault filled with loot and it's just all over the place, unorganized. And, you know, and then there's another segment that are OCD, like you just mentioned, like Ovox.
Well,
like myself.
and we were talking about personalities coming out like in the Minecraft thing once your basic needs were met, and you know, undeniably one of I think the personality traits that we share, I feel like yours might be a tad bit stronger, is that, you know, we want things to be straight and lined up, like gear to be organized. And when Mickey and I first got on and you were taking a break or whatever, that was one of the first things that we started like kind of laughing about. I said, you know, I think I can get Ovox to come back on, is I'm going to put all these dinosaurs in a line, and then I'm going to put this one out of line, and I'm going to send him a picture
Who in the
of
hell left this guy way over here?
And we've been storing stuff on a basilisk now instead of in vaults, and like it's just crammed in there. And I was going to send you a picture of that.
No, that's smart though. Yeah, you hide everything in those basilisks, and then the enemies can't necessarily see it. They don't know that it's there.
They were still there after that raid. Like, they were still there.
Oh, they were? I didn't even...
Yeah, and so we've, you know, I think Mickey already knew that, but that they couldn't see him or whatever. So now we've started using that. Like, I hope to God when I whistled, like, it didn't jack that up. Like, but I don't think it makes it so they can see him. But yeah, we had a bunch of stuff hid in them, and I haven't come back to check yet, like since the last raid. But yeah, that OCD, like. You know, just getting things organized. Like, I think it's one of the things that makes these things. I noticed like that game Animal Crossing, like it was kind of a little mobile game that came out like during the pandemic. And one of the reasons they were saying that it was so successful is we've all been going through this time where things have kind of been out of our control. Like, you know, we've been worried about our family members and stuff with the pandemic, and you wanted something that you could control.
Yep.
And, you know, in the art game, there are tons of things that you can't control, but that is one thing that you can. And you know, you also, if you play long enough, you see how it makes you a better player. Like when I run in there and I need something, if I can just run grab it really quick rather than having to query for it and all that,
yeah, you
know, it comes out. But yeah, it's just, you know, it's one of the reasons we love you, man. I mean,
thanks.
It's like, yeah, you like that trait. Like we both, yeah, Mickey and I kind of shared how we both had originally met you and that kind of thing. After that, you know, just kind of, it's a good moment, man. We miss you. We want you back.
Oh, I'll be back real soon. I guarantee
like
it, man. I met Mickey on Extinction, when Extinction dropped.
He told a little story about it. Yeah. He said something about y'all were taming a theory or something.
Oh, fuck. I fucked that up
it was
so
good
bad,
for everybody.
Did he tell you how I fucked that up?
Even that was like a good memory for him. Like, you know, he was just kind of laughing about it at this point. Like he said,
I think the whole thing there was I felt so bad about that. Just real quick for the listeners, what Tomahawk's talking about is in ARC. This is a few years back when I met another friend of ours, Mickey, awesome ARC player. They were just about to release a new map in the story of ARC called Extinction. We were all very excited for it. And at that time, I was playing with a tribe called the Iron Maidens. And we were doing very well on the Aberration map. And this is on official servers. Official servers are painstaking in ARC. Takes a lot of work. Like,
oh my God.
just to get anywhere, like, you know, it takes a lot of time, effort. Having a lot of tribe mates is fundamental on official. So Iron Maidens was one hell of a tribe. There was a lot of us. We had a real thing going. I don't know that we were the alphas per se on Aberration at the time on our server, but I'll go out there on a limb and say that we were really well set up. And we were making the Extinction map dropped. We were all ready for day one. Half of the tribe, we went over to Extinction, and Mickey joined in kind of at that time because he had already had a relationship with the leader of our tribe of the Iron Maidens, which was a guy who goes by Mr. Dupers. So Mr. Dupers, you know, brought Mickey in, and I remember Mickey was just part of the Extinction squad, you know, of the players of all of us that went over to Extinction. And yeah, that was the beginning of a beautiful ARC and real life relationship. Yeah. Man, God. There was this one motherfucker, man. There was this one guy that just would not stop griefing us when we were on Extinction that first day. And his gamer tag was Bob. So it's been an ongoing
Bob.
joke, man. This guy named Bob kept attacking us, man. And there were like a ton of us, and it was just one guy. But he just kept coming, man. And be like, fuck, this guy will not let us get anywhere. He won't let us get any ground in the game, on that first day of Extinction. That was fun.
You're hitting on though, like the two sort of extremes of this. Like it's kind of like on the one hand, like you can make really good friends that you see as allies, and then on the other hand, there's this guy, like that, like his sole purpose seems to be to like grief you, like make you unhappy somehow, and like take joy from that. That's why I say it doesn't necessarily at times mix with my personality, but like I kind of get both of those. And can you tell me why? Like why is that? Like for some people, like a joy, like I think I would rather, in the end, I would rather have that story like we've made a friend rather than someone really push my buttons somehow.
Yeah,
like
it's everyone's different, everyone's different, and that bleeds into the game, I think, and how you interact with other players in the game. But I also think that the more you play games like Ark and Rust, the more you realize that, look, if you want to make it to the end, if you want to get to the end game, you want to be successful, you got to be kind of ruthless, and you really do only make those allies and those friends mostly through other connections, like with Mickey and Mr. Dupers. We met through him, and we just realized that we had a real good connection in game. Shared qualities, different qualities that went well together, and we kind of just, it wasn't even like we talked about it, man. We just kind of continued there forward to play together. We're like, and then you started playing with us, awesome. And, those other guys that we formed Iron Maiden with, the Iron Maiden's tribe, I haven't spoken to them. It's been years now, since the Iron Maiden's times. Great times. I love all of those guys, but honestly, haven't really chatted with them. Don't know what they're up to. Still got them there on the friends list. But, yeah, Mickey and I kept it going. And now there's, we got ChukTomahawk there in the mix, and it's great. But yeah, I mean, man, after that last raid, I was like, hey, this is Ark. It happens. I'm just going to take a little breather because I don't want to lose my true deep love for the game.
Yeah. No, I certainly respected that for sure. And, we'll definitely, be excited when you feel ready to come back. But I do, as we looked at this topic, like this, I think there's a video out there of kind of 4 different scenarios when you see someone in Ark, what might happen. Kind of some people freeze up, some people attack immediately, others run, yeah, those kind of things. And like I read some articles that seem to think that these kind of games attract griefers. Like, do you believe that? Like, you think you run into more? I know we included Battle Royale, games like Warzone in this as a survival game of sorts, but do you feel like you run into more griefers in these survival games than you do other games?
Well, it depends on the game, in my opinion. Because if you look at Rust, for example, Rust is way more aggressive. It's way more PvP. It's way more. There's more players that are proactively looking for you to take you down and take your loot. That's a huge part of these two games, and a lot of survival games that we haven't really specifically mentioned because it's easy to confuse it with resource management. But I think it's still a little bit different. But the factor of loot, you're trying to get someone's loot from them, which is basically once you've harvested all these resources in a survival game, you can craft them into. I think the pickaxe is a very traditional example. Is you need to be able to get a pickaxe to harvest stone. So first you basically just craft a simple one out of a little, like I'm using Ark here as a main reference, but you use like a little bit of flint and some wood and some thatch that you can just collect off the beach, and then you can craft a pick. That's your first piece of loot. You now have a pick. With that pick, you can go and chisel out some stone, get some bigger pieces of wood and whatnot, and then you can, craft a smithy that you can then make a forge with, and then you can collect metal with a metal pick, and it just slowly builds up, and you create loot. And these are effectively your belongings, man. It'd be like your TV or your guitar there hanging in the back.
Yeah, your property.
They're your things. It's your loot. So I think there's an element there of tying it back into what you were saying is like these griefers and this whole thing of people just coming after you. In a game like Rust, it really revolves around that, because there's two ways to play the game. You can either do it the tradish, slowly building up little by little, or you can do what they call a snowball, and that's where you're like, you know what? I don't want to use all this time collecting all these resources. I'm just going to craft a simple weapon, go find some Bob that's already got all this resources and all this loot on his inventory, take him out with a quick arrow, take all his stuff, and then you don't have to do that. Yeah. So, and there's players that are like that because they're just aggressive, griefing savages. And then there's also the element of that. Well, yeah, but that's how you play the game. So, it's hard to. I don't think we have to put too much effort or worry into figuring out what kind of player, what kind of human we're facing. It's better just to keep it simple and just understand that you have an enemy player in front of you. How are you going to react? And that's part of the game.
Yeah.
That's part of that. That's part of that anxiety that I've been talking about this whole time. This like, oh God, there's a guy right there.
Well, and I think there's levels of it for sure, because like I think one way it could go in Ark, as I understand it, like, you might kill me and take my stuff, but you could also probably like say at that situation at the obelisk that they could have picked me up with that dragon, flown me back to their base and put me in a jail, and then fed me narcotics and kept me knocked out for days. Like that's another level of grief right there.
Now, okay, that's different. That's different. And that's, on official servers, that can be a real thing. On most private servers, there's actually like active like rules like discouraging that because
no kidnapping.
Because you tell the listeners why. Why can that be such a heartbreaking, like nerve-wracking thing? We're like, well, what are you talking about? I mean, someone puts you in a cage in a video game. Why is that so bad?
As I understand it, like just me say like I can't kill myself. Like there's really no way for me to kill myself as long as they're force feeding me. Sort of like, and if I log off, like I'm going to be still in that cage when I log back on. Like I can't get out. Like, they may even have me handcuffed.
Exactly. That's the element. That's what I was getting at, Tomahawk, was that, just so that the listeners understand, like in case they haven't played this game, you can invest hours into this character that you're building up, and you're only allowed to have one character. You can't have a bunch of characters in these games like Ark or Rust, and I'm sure many others. So you just got one dude, and you're working on him. You're building him up. You're gaining levels, experience. You're making him faster. You're making him stronger with more fortitude and all this stuff. And then you come into a scuffle in the game. It's going to happen. And then what they can do is the enemy or you, but usually it's unfortunately happening the other way around, is they'll build like a little cage or a little jail cell, and they can knock you out, put you inside there, lock it, and then as long as there's someone there attentively keeping an eye on your water level, your food level, making sure that your character survives, envision this, you can effectively be locked out of the game in a way. That's the frustrating. That's the grief. That tying it back into griefing, that's where the grief is. Because at that point you're left with, well, shit. Do I literally not play this game and just wait until these a-holes decide to let my character go, or do I just screw it and start a new character because I want to keep playing the game? Gosh.
I mean, and I feel like I'm going to have some PTSD when I come out of that cage. Like, I ain't going to be the same dude that went in there. I won't change my character's name at that point.
You ain't going to be running no more. Character comes up. Oh, what? there goes an arrow, you know?
Yeah. I think that's how you get to that place where you're killing on sight, you know. And I think you hit on something earlier too, like when you're saying that red is dead and kind of like it's part of the game. I think that shows itself in why, like, say when those guys raided our base on extinction, like they didn't have to kill all of our tames. Like they did it for a reason, and I assume that reason is so we're crippled, like we can't come back at them.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yep,
I mean, there's no other reason, like other than the experience points and whatnot that they get from it. Like they could leave them. I mean,
yeah, they're all on passive. They're not gonna like attack back, but
they always kill them, and I assume it's so that you're crippled, like you're not coming for that revenge because you're going to be on foot, like
literally
with
from
your
square
thumb out.
one, back in the loincloth.
Yeah. You might be plenty mad thinking revenge thoughts, but you ain't. I mean, you're basically being killed by Dillosaurs at that point again.
Yeah.
Like, you're SOL for quite some time. Like you're going to have to stay mad for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to get back at them, and man, that's a helpless feeling. I think this psychology of the PvE versus PvP is one of the really interesting things here. And I'm going to be honest with you. I still am playing, the game that we had set up there with Mickey or whatever. But yesterday I started on a PvE server and started a new character. Like, and I can't tell you how relaxed I felt. Like, like juxtaposed against what we just went through, versus that. Like, I mean, it's like all I'm having to do is run from 60, 70 types of dinosaurs. Like,
instead of like people on dinosaurs coming at you.
Yeah, like, dude, I've got my shit sitting outside. Like, I mean, it's just like I built this base that kind of looks like it has like a little, like, like a barbecue area outside. Like I'm kind of standing out on the beach. Like,
come at me, bitches. No one here.
I mean, come help me. Like, it's like we're all friends. It's a PvE server. I think it has some events. I tried to do some research and find one, and I went to the island and started hitting the explorer notes and just gonna play that as well. I think like I'm gonna play them both. Like I think whenever things aren't.
That's good.
Conducive to play the other one.
It's a good way to do it.
Play them both.
Because I mean, I played a PvE. I think it was an official server PvE with Fist Pump, aka Pepe Tortilla, and we enjoyed the heck out of it. But I'm not gonna lie, there got to a point where I was like, man, that little warrior inside of us was started coming out. Man, he's like, I really need to like go pull up on someone with these Rexes that we got here, and you just can't do it in that type of a server,
It's true. It's true. As we were kind of rebuilding there. I hit Mickey with that question. I kind of asked him. I was like, "Do you think you get a lot out of the PvP on here?" And because I was thinking, like, you and I went on a raiding spree there, kind of at the end of one season, and I think Mickey wasn't on at that. He was doing something else at that time or whatever. Didn't get to go with us, and I didn't remember him getting in on that a lot. But I think the gist of it. I mean, he can definitely answer it for himself. But it was more like he would miss it if he didn't have it. He still like, especially once he gets set up for it, he really enjoys that part of it, and so like I say, I think when we really think about my quote unquote nice guy personality or whatever, it's tough for me to do that. Like I genuinely feel bad. Like how I'll mention.
I think you need to play a little bit more Rust. That'll turn you into Tasmanian Devil right there. That game is ruthless.
Sent it to me on the reg on Rust. Hell, I think NPCs were killing me on Rust.
There's
those flaming arrows.
There are NPCs that'll.
He would hit me from across the map with that damn flaming arrow. Like I couldn't. I had nothing for him.
People on Rust are. I think both.
They're brutal, dude.
Yeah, they're brutal, and I'm just gonna, one of the things we put on here, on our outline for this episode was. Favorite survival games, least favorite survival games, and survival games we want to play. And then I also put a thing at the end saying most popular survival games. According to what I've seen online, I'm seeing a consistent Rust at the top of playership today. Like it's one of the top, if not the very top game in survival genre. And for me personally, I put Ark and Rust kind of at the same level. And I'm not talking about in terms of which I like more, just in terms of these are the two games that are, are the survival genre today.
As I say it, it's almost like unheard of for one of these games to make it out of beta. It's almost like the ones we're talking are the ones that sort of have. And I think Rust was one of the first ones that did that and, kind of achieved that next tier level of success to kind of keep the ball rolling there.
Yep. They both, I think both Rust and Ark had kind of like an early access phase. But if I look here, sorry, I'm looking at the dates. I'm sorry. Go ahead. If you got anything, John, keep us. Okay, here we go. Sorry, it took me a second to find that. 2018 Rust, and I think, Rust definitely had
the beta was like 14, I think, maybe something like that, 13, 14.
And I'm looking. When did Ark come out?
Very first.
Ark came out in 2017.
And was in beta, I think, around 2015. Maybe is if I was just going to take a stab. So it's almost like a process, like we kind of talked about. Once we didn't have cartridges and we could do patches and downloads, DLC, like these games, were able to kind of be modified after the fact, and they almost test them, with actually by putting out this beta.
I think you mentioned it earlier with the Rust one. It came from an earlier game, right? Called let me do the timeline here. I think it started with Arma. You said
there was something like that, and then they had done a mod that
for zombies.
They called DayZ.
Well, I think what happened is, and if we get this wrong, please write it in. If we get any of this wrong, feel free to write in, and we'll correct in the next episode. But I think it was the game you mentioned, Arma, and then there was an element to it where they had like a zombie mission or something, and they're like, hey, this looks fun, or it's doing well, or people like this, let's make a mod or like an independent thing. And they made DayZ, which was just like open world survival, zombies while facing other players, so double difficulty. We've got the zombies on one end and other players on the other. And then I think Rust was like pretty much the same folks, same developers, or at least a couple of the same developers. They went and made Face Punch. But what they said was, hey, DayZ's doing pretty good, but why don't we make a DayZ without zombies? Just enemy players, base building, resource gathering, crafting. And man, dang, that game is popular. I mean, so is DayZ. But Rust really, just like the name of the developer, it was a real face punch. Right in the kisser.
Tongue punched the bunghole there.
Jesus, tongue punched the fart box. Yeah, gnarly. Where did that come from? Jesus. But it kind of, Russ kind of came out, pulled all of our pants down, and whammy. Oh gosh.
No, it is fun. And most of my Rust I played on a PV server that only had events that were PvP, and I find that to be a good mix, and I'm excited to see how that goes on like I say, that PvE version I did of Ark. But there's a lot of psychology involved there, and I think that's why these games are as popular as they are, and where the investment, what lets it get its hooks into us. And I'm excited to see where they go in the future, dude. I feel like even just from the little bit I've seen of these games and how much time it's took of my time, and I see people that are putting in obviously way more time than me, I believe there'll be people that live their entire lives on these things.
I'm sure I'm sure there's already like semi forms of that, and there's certainly, I know that there's no. I mean, I just think you're really into it right now, man. I mean, you're still because I know we had that bout where we played it for a little bit, but I think this last epic of you playing Ark has hit you differently. I think it's I think I mentioned to you once, it still has its claws in you.
Yeah, they're in there. And it happened I think I came to visit Mexico there and came back in.
You brought your
late
PlayStation
January.
and the game and everything. I remember.
Well, I'm talking this last trip, like when I came home, and I think when we talked face to face, we were like, hey, let's do an arc run, when I get home. And I think I started hooking my PlayStation 4 back up. Dude, I have it. My suitcase is still in the floor in my room with some of the shit from January.
Oh man.
I did some cleaning yesterday, and I was just like, "Good Lord!"
This
This stuff's been sitting here.
It's fucking game, man.
Yeah, I had bought some stuff from Costa Azul, like a hat, Cerritos hat or whatever, and it's still in the bag, sitting there. I opened the suitcase, I set it on my dresser, and it's still sitting
You're like,
right
"Oh, it's a
there.
nice hat."
Went until yesterday. Yeah, I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot about that." So,
Yep.
yeah, we've been putting some time in on there.
It's all for the loot, baby.
Yeah.
There's a article from IGN by a guy named Rick Lane. He had a quote, and it's in regard to that loot psychology thing, that risk-reward factor, or fight or flight, and fear of other players. And he quoted, "When well done, weakness and vulnerability can be far more interesting. Can be far more interesting than killing everything that appears on screen." So, it's.
I think he's right.
So I think what he was getting at with that is, a lot of games are linear, and basically you have to take out the enemy in one regard or another, be it Pac-Man. Well, no, not Pac-Man. In Pac-Man, it's all avoidance. But like in Mario, and you're hopping through the screen that moves from side to side, and you're bouncing on the mushrooms or whatever. You're effectively taking them out. You're killing them. You're beating the enemies. And that's what I think Rick meant here by killing everything on the screen. And when he's saying that weakness and vulnerability can be far more interesting, I think he's touching on that, once again, that anxiety factor of not knowing. You don't know, you don't know how it's going to go for you. You spawn in, the game starts, and there's this whole feeling of, okay, the world is mine, but it can also be taken from me. And it's not like you can save your progress and reload back in. You cannot save your progress and reload back in. It gets saved, but while you're offline, some dude can come up with rocket launchers or with C4 or bean cans if you're playing Rust, or whatever it may be, and then you're like, all right, just got out of work, got my chores done, I'm all fed, just everything's great, gonna throw on the old PlayStation, and you start loading in, and all of a sudden at the top of the screen it says in big red letters, "You have been killed." And it's like, what? You're just like, man, and then that feeling of just loss hits so hard. No.
Why? Yeah.
And then you spawn back in, and all you see is remnants of what was your base.
Freaking mayhem has took place.
That's the worst, because then you get that feeling of, well, why didn't they attack me while I was online? I could have defended, or I could have done this, could have done that, and then you start thinking about it. It's like, well, I probably would have done the same thing.
Well, I think there's an interesting psychology here, though, of like I find that certain things in life for me, if they're incredibly hard, it draws me to them somehow. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I notice it every day when I go into jiu-jitsu. Oh, God. they beat it into you.
But imagine if you'd have gone to jiu-jitsu and without any training, you just went down there and dominated. Do you think you'd still be going?
Nope.
Yeah. But, you went down there and I don't know the exact story, but
I
I'm
got
assuming
dominated.
it could be fairly humbling at some point.
Yeah.
And it brings you back. And
yeah,
I feel like that's kind of the case.
Yeah, it brings you back, man. I just, my first day at BJJ, I got, they give you the class, and then you basically go into a roll, which is like a sparring. It doesn't matter if it's your first day. I'm sure there's different schools, but we got in there, and it was time to roll, time to spar. And I got put up with this young lady Awesome girl, and she had me completely all my limbs were isolated, and she was slowly applying a rear naked choke to me, far within the 5-minute lapse of the round, and I was tapping quick, man. I could feel her arm just slowly, and Chuck, I was trying to get out of this. You know, at the time I was, you know, I'm almost 200 pounds at the time. You know, I didn't have any training or anything, but you know, I had some strength there to work with. Completely isolated all of my limbs. I felt her arm slowly creeping up under my neck, and the whole time I'm trying to get released from this. And you know, she's a short, skinny young lady. Felt that arm coming under my neck, man, and all of a sudden you hear me going, tap, 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 tap. And then I just remember getting up and going, damn, I need to learn this. And like you said, I kept coming back, still going. Got class on Monday. The challenge you're talking about, it draws us in.
Yeah, I think there's probably some sort of sweet spot in life. You know, I know it's not always black and white, like sort of like my example of it being, you know, you going down there and dominating. But I think in these games, it's kind of like that. And what he's getting at here is that, you know, Mario is pretty damn strong compared to a lot of the characters in the game. Like, I mean, he's got a lot going for him.
Yeah, especially when you get that flower.
Yeah. You know, he's got all kind of little things going on there, little power-ups of sorts. And so, you know, I think he's getting at that when the character's really weak, that just surviving becomes a big part of the game. And I also saw an article that said that might cause people to be a little less PvP if you actually needed other people's help to survive, that characters would work together. But it kind of doesn't work that way. I think that's interesting. Like, I think that's one of the reasons that you know, they mentioned that these type of games draw griefers is it's kind of funny to watch, you know, to know that person has all that invested in it and kind of take it away from them. And you know, you've got that chat over there where you can kind of get at each other a little bit. Oh
gosh, dude! Oh, you just reminded me of one of the best responses that I ever saw in the public chat on Arc. Someone was getting raided, you know, and you can kind of tell when it's hard to say. I'm generalizing here, maybe even stereotyping a little bit, but you get used to these things. You start to notice patterns when you're playing these games, and I think that it must have been some younger kids, because they were just bitching and bickering through the chat because one of them was getting raided and the other one was obviously deraiding. And there was a part where he just, like, the tribe that was getting raided, one of their members was like, you know, why are you doing this? Go away. We just started, or something like that. And he's like, please, why are you doing this? And the response was, Arc.
Okay.
It made me laugh so hard because it was like, at that point I had already been raided a few times. This is when, this was even before I met Mickey, and it was just Fist Pump and I. We were really into the game, and we had already been raided a few times. So we knew it was up at that point. And we just saw in the public chat, why are you doing this? And the guy's like, Arc. Like, God, I know what he means by that answer. That's just the way the game is, man.
I take that to mean that dude that's doing the raiding has a hole in his heart somewhere too, that someone else gave him, and he's just passing it down the line.
You gotta pass it down the line. You know? Yeah. You gotta pass it down the line.
And maybe that's it. Maybe you're making the game that hard, and it's what's going to keep folks coming back. Like I'm saying, like what brought you back to jiu-jitsu, that, you know, it was really freaking hard, and you saw, you know.
And the possibilities are unidentifiable and unlimited. You know, yeah. I mean, well, maybe not unidentifiable. I mean, we all know where, you know, like what you can get in Arc, what you can get in Rust, and what your possibilities are in terms of loot. You know, we kind of know how far the game goes. We know these things. Every time there's a DLC, they introduce new stuff. We know that, but not in the like when you read between the lines, it's really hard. There is no certainty. We don't know where the game's going to go. You don't know how many days you're going to last. You don't know how far you'll be able to build up before getting completely wiped or annihilated or hunted or whatever the case may be. And yeah, it keeps
There's
us.
that carpe diem. Like it's like you gotta have fun, while you're there, because it may not be there tomorrow. I learned that like I used to, when I'd get good armor, I would save it.
I remember.
Like I'd be like,
Like-
now I've started, just as soon as I get it, like I put it on, like right then,
Use it.
because I'm like, fuck, it may not make it through the day. Like so.
Hey, I mean, look at
yeah,
Mayrod.
you did
She
cool.
didn't last very long, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to bring that up.
We did get to use it that one night. I'm thankful for
Yeah.
that. Like, yeah. It definitely learns you to, teaches you to sort of take that out. I have a funny story I want to share of an experience. Like sailing kind of turned out to be that for me. I thought it was something I wanted to do, and I had this neighbor Chuck, another Chuck, that invited me
Not
on
ChukTomahawk.
he invited me to go sailing with him and his girlfriend. So me and my girlfriend drove down to Charleston, and we get on this sailboat with him, dude. And I was suffering so much the entire time. Like it was such a tiny cabin, and like, like he wouldn't allow us to bring any food. Like he just kind of was like, we're going to catch our food. And like, we're out there like just starving to death. And like the only toilet on the thing was like in his bedroom. So at some point, like I had to get up in the middle of the night and go in this bedroom and like plop on this like portable toilet that like, dude, I'm a big old dude, and like that toilet like would fit in the crack of my ass. Like I sat up there. It was kind of like, and I mean, I'm literally like inches from him and his girlfriend, like in the bedroom.
Were there any
Just
sound
kinda like-
effects?
It was like, God, I drank in all this coffee and shit. Like, and I was just like, I've got a shit. And like, I mean, and like, I don't know how to work it. He's like, put some water in it first, and I'm just like, this is the most awkward thing of my life. Like,
Gosh.
yeah. But when I got home, the whole time I was just like wanting to be home so bad. But once we got home, I was like, man, you gotta be pretty damn tough to sail. Like, it kind of, made me realize it wasn't for everybody. And it also drew me to it. Like, I got to get some more of that. Like, somehow I felt like,
Have you gone back?
it's I haven't, but I when the time comes, I want to,
Well,
but,
yeah, and now now you have a little bit of context.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
be like, hey, yeah, I'm down to go on another sailing trip, but have you put another toilet in that bad boy? Or,
Yeah,
or anything
yeah, I'm
like
gonna-
that, Or maybe just,
yeah, be more prepared next time. Kind
yeah,
of thing. But,
or maybe organize your own kind of outing, not based on someone else's scene or whatever the case may be. But yeah.
Yeah, I had it at I was basing it on like East Tennessee pontoon boat party barge. Like my dad and I we rebuilt this boat and we called it the cirrhosis of the river. We get out there, and just get
Drank a lot of water on there?
I brought moonshine on this sailing trip, and like we start sailing, and I open it up and I take a sip and I kind of hand it over to Chuck, and he was like, "I don't do that when we're underway," and like that was my first clue that like we needed to be paying a little more attention.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So yeah, things that there's kind of this sweet spot. Like I say, when it's hard, it kind of draws you in somehow.
Man. Yeah, I can feel the draw right now.
Yeah, I'm ready to play some today. It's Saturday, so.
Indeed. Gosh.
Something.
Well, I'm looking at our outline here, and I feel like we've covered our basis on what we wanted to talk about. Survival game wish list.
Yeah.
Arc 2. Coming soon, baby.
It is coming down the pipe.
Vin Diesel.
I
can't wait to see him in a loincloth. Giggity. Just kidding. Oddly enough, folks, in case you didn't know, Arc is having a sequel come out called Arc 2, very creatively named. And Vin Diesel, not only is he the protagonist as Santiago, but he's also, I think, you can check it out, but he's also involved in the development of the game. I didn't know he was into gaming.
Yeah. I did not know that either.
Yeah.
I think of the Fast and Furious movies when I think of Vin Diesel at this point, but he's been in several good movies, and I'm super excited to see it. Like, got tons of questions. Like, I want to know, are they all new dinosaurs, or is it going to have parts of the old one, NPCs?
Yeah, are they going to fix the glitches that we've always struggled with? The little stuff. Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
There's not a lot out on it
I
yet.
think for me-
Not a lot of information there.
Yeah. I hope that we do like as far as the want to play, like I want to do some more Valheim at some point, and hope we get to play that together maybe. And there was a game Scum that I tried to play there for just a little bit that I want to maybe revisit. As I understand it, the theme is a little bit like that Most Dangerous Game type thing, like where you've got sort of a prison island, and these are the scum that have been sent there and to survive. And, I think one of the things, like, it has a pretty extensive pooping mechanic.
Oh, really?
That drew me.
More extensive than Arcs. hold down circle, and there's a little option that says poop. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then you click it, and then your character just goes, a little turd comes out. But you can use it as fertilizer to grow crops. There's
funny.
always something to do with these resources.
I've saw like some videos on social media, like kind of like outlining the difference between boys and girls, and like they show like girls playing a video game, and they're more talking about like the characters, some other aspect of the character, equipment or something like that. But it's like they show the three boys, and they're all just like sitting in a circle, like just doing something stupid as hell. Like making fart or pooping, like taking turns pooping or something, like watching it and laughing about it.
It must have been of the younger generations. Oh, who knows though?
Yeah.
Boys will be boys, as they say.
Yeah. It's just it kind of like the sense of humor there is real, but I'm excited to see where these things go. I as far as wanting to play, like I want to play 10 years from now, like what these survival games are like, and
gosh, they're going to be so
I got a
advanced.
feeling we're going to be wearing a headset, and
probably
have some tactile sensors or something, in there. So
yeah, they're meant.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of success and progress being made with these Survivor games. We got Arc 2 coming out soon. They're going to release a new map next month. Very excited for that. It's going to be the last map released for the original Arc game. Probably gonna, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna jump into Rust some more. I want to play Rust again. I want to give it another good college go. I'm gonna be a little bit more aggressive this time, because that really is. I mean, if you want a PvP, baby, you gotta play Rust. That's really where it's at.
Yeah.
Looking forward to playing some more Ark with you. I've been playing No Man's Sky and Rust, both survival games. Very fun. They don't have the same claws that Ark does for me, but really great games to kind of bounce off of while I'm taking a little breather from the beautiful world of Ark. And there's a couple of there's one game coming out called 25 North, 71 West. I'm not too familiar with it, but it looks more like a realistic survival type of game. I'm looking forward to playing that. Another game came out in 2019 called Green Hell, which is kind of like, I don't want to say rumored, but a lot of Game Ranks reviews kind of place this game at being the most realistic. You're basically out on in this forest of sorts, jungle. I don't know if it's an island or not, so I'm not going to say that. But you're basically lost in a forest type of island scenario thing. And it's very realistic. Like, you get cuts and bruises, and you can get sick, and you have to like purify and craft like medicines, and it's just very, very, very unforgiving. So I kind of want to check that game out, but we'll see. You can only do so much survival games, That's one of the things, Tomahawk, that we haven't really mentioned specifically is with survival games, like, because they require so much investment and time, you can't really it's hard to play more than one. Because you can't save it and turn it off and be like, okay, I'm going to save it, turn it off, and it'll be there, and I can come back to it when I'm ready after playing this game. So it's hard to do that.
It's almost hard to play any other game. I mean, I'm trying to keep get my FIFA skills back up. Where they the best they've ever been. Not that I'm ever been that great, but yeah, just like trying to save in 45 minutes at the end of the night to play that, and I can't do it. Like I had to skip it last night to be fresh for this morning, just because these darn things take over your life. Like, but
I'm sure it won't be the last time we talk about survival games. You know, in fact,
no, we're going to do that ARC episode,
Yeah.
I think, at some point.
yeah. And hey, that might be a good segue into, you know, rolling into the end of this episode, getting our concluders out there. You got anything else? Anything on your mind?
You want some dad jokes, or you want like I think I'm gonna save. I know there were like some micro topic type things I wanted to talk about, but we'll save those for the next episode. We've covered a lot today.
Yeah,
and,
we have.
I've enjoyed it, man.
And that segue is we'll probably let us know what you think out there, everyone. If we were thinking about maybe doing like bonus episodes that maybe aren't so long and aren't so specifically related to vintage games or how games have developed, but maybe we could just BS and chit chat about a specific topic that maybe you're interested in hearing our thoughts about, or I think we're certainly going to have bonus episodes where we talk maybe about a specific game that we're really enjoying the crap out of, like Ark. ChukTomahawk really wants to talk about Ark. I know it. I can see it in his left eyebrow right now. He's already crafting bows and arrows over here, everybody. But I mean that's all I got. I'm really looking forward to Ark 2. That's really all I can close up with. And survival games are near and dear to me, very close to my heart. I love them. They're my favorite genre. Never gonna stop playing survival games.
Get out there and check it out. Put some skin in one of those games and tell me you're not having a good time.
You heard it. You heard it from ChukTomahawk yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. So hey, yeah, if you got anything for us, you can hit us up via email. I think we're probably soon gonna start maybe an Instagram. We might get a Facebook page going. We're gonna try and get the social medias going a little bit better. But for now, if you want to hit us up, if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, maybe segment proposals, we're always looking to make this better for you guys and gals out there. You can hit us up at ovoxandchuk@gmail.com. That's ovoxandchuk@gmail.com. We would love that. If you get us a review on the Apple Podcasts there, shoot us a review, give us those 5 stars. Even if it's a bad review, hell, you can chew us out, call us names, tell us we suck, and we will still give you a shout out on the podcast as long as it's 5 stars, right?
That's right.
Get that algorithm twerking.
Yeah, got a grief with class.
There we go, baby. Oh, grief with class. 5-star griefers. We'll take them. Matter of fact, we should probably add that to the quip. What do you think, ChukTomahawk? We should run it off, start...
Griefers?
Yeah, we could do, when we started off, we go, welcome listeners, gamers, non-gamers, griefers, PvEers, PvPers, and even NPCs.
That's right. So how does griefers, how does that translate into Spanish?
Griefers? I don't think there's a... Why are you smiling like
That's
that?
a tough one. No, I don't know. Like
I don't
I'm just
think
curious,
there's an actual word. I'll ask my gamer friends down here. But when I think of a griefer, I just think of vale verga. Pendejo vale verga. Culero. It's like, how do you say griefer in Spanish? Oh, it's culero.
Say it with me.
Oh gosh.
That's awesome.
And one last real quick thing. I just noticed that this episode's been going for a little bit. So just based off of listener recommendations, we might brainstorm on this a little bit more, but we might make this a 2-parter. So yeah, we've been talking for over 3 hours, man.
Yeah, a lot to be said here.
Well,
Work of Section 31 is never done.
yeah, I'm going to see how I can beam that little insignia out of your bedroom right into my, block box there. That thing's beautiful, man. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I was excited to share it with y'all.
All right, ChukTomahawk, I think we should wrap it up, man.
All right, man. Let's call it an episode.
Awesome.
Until next time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chuck T. I love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
Hasta la próxima.
Adios, amigos.